How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading with the prices going up or down. Over on Dixie for the daily, we did push forward, but we have an indecision candle, so I would exercise caution. Our stochastic does want to round away, so I would watch for that orange to break above that blue. If we see that happen, we could end up seeing a breakdown. Our RSI is continuing strong, but again, watch that stochastic. VWAP is pulling back, momentum does want to round, money flow is starting to weaken, so watch that yellow wave, that VWAP. If it starts to weaken here, that blue wave, our momentum could end up coming down, and money flow will continue to deepen in the red, and we will see further sell-off. So, over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we zoom out, we do have pretty flat action, so still can't draw a new fixed range volume profile. We are above the value area high. We are continuing pretty flat overall, so we're struggling to break this 57.5 range. Our stochastic does want to push up, but it looks like it is getting lower highs, so I would watch that could create bearish divergence. RSI is flat, VWAP is creating bearish divergence as well, so watch that. And money flow is weakening, so if that VWAP does not gain strength, we likely will see dominance reverse, and that means altcoins could do better than Bitcoin. Over on total for the daily, this is our market cap of our altcoins. We hit that 300 EMA, that critical resistance area, and we got rejected. So that shows why that's a strong area, and if you do not break it, you can end up falling. So if we do not see bullish momentum, we could end up breaking away. I will delete this channel at this point because it's pretty much done with, and we did not see it play out. Our RSI is pulling back, stochastic wants round, VWAP is staying bearish, momentum is breaking down, and money flow is starting to round, so I would exercise caution here. Over on the 4 hour, we have lower highs with lower lows. I would watch for a further drop. If we get a further drop and see another lower low here, we could end up breaking down. The only saving thing we could have going for us is this could be a higher low. If we see a higher high following it, we could push up, providing we don't create a straight rising channel. Remember, that's where the highs and lows connect. If we do see the highs and lows connect, then we could create that rising channel, and that rising channel is a bearish pattern that would bring you back down. Our stochastic is starting to crash, RSI is falling, VWAP is in the bearish territory, bringing momentum and money flow lower, so I would watch that VWAP close. If it does not reverse, it's likely altcoins will continue to sell off. Over on the 2 hour, we do have a bearish cross over green and blue EMA, so that shows that the green EMA failed to cross over other stronger, higher EMAs, and we are seeing a breakdown below our EMA band that gives the bears more control. Stochastic does want to round here, RSI is pulling back, VWAP is favoring bearish, we have a lower low with lower highs, so I would watch if we continue to favor below this neutral. That yellow wave will bring momentum lower, that blue wave, and we will see money flow remain in the red and deepen, and that will weaken those higher time frames and give us a potential of a further breakdown. Over on the 1 hour, RSI is pulling back, stochastic is weakening, we do have a bearish cross, and VWAP wants to break down, and money flow is breaking bearish. So our next support range would be a range of consolidation. So we do have the range we're currently sticking in. If we do not hold in this area here, we could push down to this previous range at that 535. And if we lose that range, we do have some drastic drops from there. So I would exercise caution if we lose that range. But over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we are seeing a break below that value area low with further red candles. I would watch, this could end up bringing us lower, but we do have a gap to the upside. That gap to the upside could help us because futures does lead Bitcoin, and gaps have an 80% likelihood to fill. We have 2 to the upside, so that could help push us toward that resistance area. If we do see a push toward our resistance, we need to hold above it and get higher highs above that 65.5 if we're going to prevent any kind of bearish momentum. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is weakening, momentum is breaking down, VWAP is favoring bearish, and money flow is pulling back. So watch lower time frames, we need them to start to break bullish if we're going to reverse here. Over on the 4 hour, stochastic is pushing down, we do want to get a bullish cross, so that could be positive. If VWAP does want to push forward, watch if we can break that neutral and get higher highs with higher lows. Momentum does want to push, possibly making a higher low, that could be positive, and money flow does want to gain some strength. Over on the 2 hour here, our RSI is pulling back, stochastic wants around, that VWAP is starting to reject, so I would watch that close. If that VWAP makes that rejection, momentum could continue lower, money flow will break bearish, and we will continue a further slide. Over on our 1 hour, we do have a slight gap above us here, so that could be another gap to the upside. I'm not saying that has to fill, that's a very small gap. I lean more toward the daily gap or the gap up here from when we tried to run up and we failed. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is pulling back, VWAP does want to break that neutral, momentum is rounding with a red dot, so watch that VWAP close, and that money flow is starting to pull back, so if that VWAP does reject and hold below that neutral, we will see money flow remain red, and if that money flow starts to break red for several hours, we will see a continued push to the downside. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we do have pretty similar action to futures, so just like futures, we're deleting this channel as it's really not going to play out. It's pretty much the possibility has ended for that, in my opinion. That doesn't mean we can't bounce though. RSI does want to pull back, stochastic wants to round. VWAP is trying to break that neutral, momentum is weakening, so watch that VWAP close. If that VWAP does not hold above that neutral, our momentum will continue to weaken and money flow will follow. Over on our 4-hour here, we do have lower highs with lower lows, so watch for that to continue. Again, just like we said on total, we could have a higher low coming in here, so watch for a higher high. If we get a higher high that does not create a rising channel, we could continue forward, but if we do create a rising channel, watch for that breakdown. Our VWAP does want to favor bearish. We do have a lower low. I would watch. Momentum is breaking down, money flow is weakening, so the 4-hour doesn't look too bullish. Again, I would exercise caution. Sorry about that, trying not to hiccup here. Over on the 2-hour, we are starting to see a breakdown. We do have a round here. This could make a rounding top. That could bring us lower and possibly push us to that 57. Again, watch for a break of that 57. If we do, we could push to that 55, possibly 52. VWAP is favoring bearish, momentum is dropping down, stochastic does want to round, and RSI is starting to weaken, so if that stochastic does break down here, we could see further losses, as that VWAP is starting to reject away with lower highs and consistent lows, as creating a bearish trend. That bearish trend does want to bring you down. The 1-hour does have bullish money flow, so that is positive, but that VWAP failed to hold bullish. If we get a higher low here followed by higher highs, we could push forward, but if we get a break of this neutral like we're seeing now, and we cannot get back above it, it's likely we would continue lower, so keep an eye on that VWAP. As long as it's below neutral, we possibly will sell off. Most likely, in my opinion, we would sell off. Momentum does want to break away. We do have a red dot, and money flow could break bearish, so watch that VWAP close, as it's not far behind, bringing everything else down with it. Over on graph for the daily, we are starting to break that resistance of our 14,316, and we are making a push right around that 13,741. So we are in that first support area. Again, if we can see a bounce here, that would be positive. If we do not see that bounce, that's where we could see that break toward 1157. Our stochastic is breaking down, RSI is weakening, VWAP is favoring bearish, momentum is pushing down, and money flow does want to weaken, so I would exercise caution. Over on the 4-hour, we do have lower highs and lower lows, so unlike the rest of the market, we do have a lower low here. I would watch that could end up breaking us down. We do have a slight bearish trend here as the highs and lows do not connect. Stochastic wants to come down, RSI is weakening, VWAP is favoring bearish with lower lows, so watch for lower highs that will bring momentum lower and cause money flow to continue to sell off. Over on the 2-hour, we do have a slight gap above us, so again, gaps have an 80% likelihood to fill, so that gives us an 80% likelihood to jump up and revisit that, providing the rest of the market reverses. VWAP is favoring bearish, so I would exercise caution. That could bring us lower if that VWAP rejects that neutral. Momentum is dropping, money flow is pulling back, stochastic is rounding, and RSI is starting to pull back, so again, watch that VWAP close. Over on the 1-hour, we are getting lower highs with lower lows. We are continuing away. Again, exercise caution. We tried to fill this gap. We failed and we rejected. We do have several gaps above us, so that is positive. That does give us several areas we can push up to, but it also gives us several areas we could reject as well. RSI wants to pull back, stochastic is starting to round away. That VWAP did break bullish, but it's a very weak break, and we are coming back down, so watch it close. If we stay below the neutral here, we could see the bears gain control, pushing momentum lower and bringing money flow down, weakening those higher time frames, as that 1-hour has been bearish for quite some time. Over on Ankr for the daily, we do have a rejection of our value area low. We are trying to hold our 2333 though, so that is positive. I would watch though, if we continue to break and continue seeing the rest of the market drop, we're likely going to push down toward that 2020. Stochastic does want to push forward. We do have blue above orange, but RSI is starting to round, so if that stochastic does not get back above and hold that 30, we will see that RSI bring price action lower. VWAP is favoring bearish, our momentum is starting to push down, money flow is bearish, so overall it does look like we are starting to see some bearish momentum here. We are trying to hold our supports, but we're barely clinging to them. Over on the 4-hour, stochastic is starting to drop down. We have a bearish cross, RSI is coming down, momentum is falling as that VWAP breaks bearish and bringing money flow lower. So if that VWAP does not reverse, momentum and money flow will continue lower, and we will continue to see sell-off. That could give us that push down, so I would exercise caution. We did jump up and fill a gap we created here on the 2-hour. Now we are pulling back. We do have another gap above us right around this 24.88 and right around this 25.03. So we have several other ones as well, but those are two of the most recent. That is positive. That could help push us forward, but in the short term, we did reject a gapped area, so we could continue to sell off if that VWAP stays bearish. Our VWAP is starting to round, so watch for a lower high. Momentum is pushing down, and money flow does want to break into the bearish territory. Over on the 1-hour, we do have a gap below us, so I would watch for that to fill. If we fill that gap and make a strong bounce, we could continue forward. However, if we fill that gap and continue to drop, it's likely we would make that push down toward that 2020. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is weakening, VWAP is starting to round, watch for a break at that neutral. If it breaks and holds, momentum will push down and money flow will follow. Over on XRP for the daily, we did try to break that 57, but we got rejected. Our RSI is pulling back, stochastic is rounding, VWAP is struggling to break that neutral, momentum does want to push up, it has a green dot, but that VWAP is struggling, so I wouldn't bet much on that green dot unless the rest of the lower time frames are more bullish. The 4-hour, we did reject that 300 EMA, that critical resistance, so again, exercise caution. That gives us a high chance to push down to our 54 again. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is weakening, momentum is rounding, VWAP is breaking down, and money flow is starting to favor bearish, so watch that VWAP close. If it continues to push down on lower time frames, we're likely going to sell off here. Over on the 2-hour, we do have lower highs with lower lows here. That is starting to push us back down after trying to make a bullish trend, so I would exercise caution. RSI is rounding, stochastic wants to round, momentum is pushing down, VWAP is starting to break down. We did break into the bullish territory, very weak break, and now we are rejecting. If we continue to reject here, it's likely we would have that lower high followed by consistent or lower lows, giving us a bearish trend to bring momentum and money flow lower, weakening the 2-hour and bringing us down to our support of 54. So over on the 1-hour, stochastic is starting to round away. We do have a bearish cross. RSI is pushing down, VWAP is breaking down, momentum is rounding, money flow is pushing down. We do have a red dot on that momentum, so I would watch if that VWAP continues to favor bearish here. We likely would see this 1-hour pick up further bearish momentum. I would watch for a lower low. We do have a lower high, so if we follow this lower high with a lower low, it's likely we will push lower. Finally, for ALGO for the daily, since we have no requests in the chat, RSI is starting to pull back. We did reject those EMAs. Stochastic does look like we do want to push forward. We do have blue above orange, so watch if we can hold above 30. VWAP does want to push up. Momentum is pushing down though, so I would watch that VWAP. If it does not get a higher high or consistent high, then it's likely we would continue lower and bring momentum and money flow lower, so watch those lower time frames. Over on the 4-hour, we do have lower highs with lower lows. We are trying to create that higher highs, so that is positive. Remember, if we get higher highs with higher lows, that can push us forward as long as they do not connect to create that rising channel. We want a bullish continuation where the highs and lows do not connect. Stochastic is starting to drop down, RSI is pulling back, VWAP is pushing down, momentum is breaking bearish, and money flow is pulling back. So overall, that 4-hour does not look very positive. Over on the 2-hour, we do have a slight gap here, so that could be positive, but it's very minuscule, so I wouldn't bet much on it filling. RSI is pulling back, stochastic's dropping away. VWAP is starting to reject that neutral. I would watch if that VWAP continues to reject here. Momentum will break down, money flow will continue to weaken, and we will weaken those higher time frames and push lower. Remember, we do have our 1032 as our next support area if we do not hang up on this 1180. RSI and stochastic are starting to break down here. On the 1-hour, VWAP is starting to break as well. Momentum has a red dot due to that VWAP breaking, so watch for lower lows. If we get lower lows with lower highs here, momentum will remain bearish and money flow will continue to drop. That will weaken higher time frames and push us down. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night. I appreciate